Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is cleanse, and this verb was recommended or suggested by the viewer Luis. So, Luis, thank you so much for continuing to share many great ideas with us. Now, let's take a moment and review some of the ways that we use this verb. The first way you might encounter the verb cleanse means to make something thoroughly clean. And I'm anticipating many thoughtful viewers asking, well, why not just use that verb clean? The thing that makes these two verbs a little bit different is that cleanse tends to be more specific. So instead of kind of being broad with like clean the room, right? You might say, I'm going to cleanse the sink. Now I'm being more specific. Something else to note about this making something thoroughly clean is that it's frequently used in connection to our bodies and cleaning our skin. You might hear people say, I'm going to cleanse my face, right? They're again being quite specific about what is going to be thoroughly clean. Now, a second way to use cleanse might be to rid a person, place, or thing of something that is seen as unpleasant or unwanted. So, with this example, I know my mind immediately went to bugs, right? You might think of trying to get rid if they've maybe moved into an area of your house. But unfortunately, there are some really sad examples throughout human history of this. There have been various dictators over the course of history who've wanted to rid their area, their territory, their country of specific groups of people. You might hear this called ethnic cleansing, right? This is horrible. It's a crime. But again, that is another example of how you might hear it used. A third way to use cleanse is more specific to religion. It is an action to free someone from sin or guilt. So there might be certain prayers or actions taken in order to free oneself. For now, you should know that cleanse is a regular verb. If you want to make the progressive form of this verb, just drop the E and then add ing. That forms cleansing. To make the past tense and participle form of our verb, all we need to do is add D, since this verb already ends in an E. Now our base verb, cleanse, cleanse, you can hear that. It ends in the letters SE, but the sound we're making there is a Z sound, Z, right? That's a voice sound. This means our ED ending is just going to make a D sound, and I'm not going to add an extra syllable as I say it. The past tense and the participle form of our verb should sound like this: cleansed, cleansed. Now, you might be relieved to know we don't have any additional meanings that we need to study in connection to phrasal verbs. So instead, we'll move on and do a little verb tense practice. Today, I'm going to review the past perfect and the simple future with a focus on be going to. Let's start with the past perfect. We use this verb tense to talk about completed actions. But what makes them slightly different than just the simple past tense is that we're noting this action occurred before some other action or before a certain point in time. To make past perfect sentences in the affirmative or positive, we will start with a subject, then we'll use had, that's the past form of have, and then we're going to use the participle form of the verb. And since cleanse is a regular verb, that participle is the same as the past tense. This is going to be our structure no matter what our subject is. Let's take a look at an example sentence. The officer said arresting her father's killer had cleansed her soul. I saw this example. I believe the story originates out of Brazil. So, somebody who was a young child, maybe 9 years old, her father was killed. Um, she sort of resolves, I'm going to become an officer, I'm going to investigate, I'm going to find my father's killer. And she did it. I think it's something like 25 years later. She finds, arrests this person, and kind of talking more metaphorically instead of like a physical cleaning, that it really kind of released this anger and resentment she had to this person, knowing that now this person will be locked away for the rest of their lives. Now let's take a look at a negative past perfect sentence. To do this, again, we always start with our subject. We use had not, and then we're going to use the participle form of the verb. You might also see the contraction hadn't used. Let's take a look at an example. The rains may have washed away the dust, but they hadn't cleansed the city's sanitation woes. So here, we're saying something hasn't been thoroughly cleaned. There are still existing problems. Now, let's take a look at a yes or no question. To do this in the past perfect, start with had, then you're going to have your subject, and then the participle form of the verb. Had other natural forces cleansed the water of the oil spill? Right? So again, kind of noting maybe something occurring before other measures had been taken to try and clean up from that disaster. Now let's move on to the simple future. Today we're going to talk about making sentences with be going to. This is most common when people are discussing their plans. Still might see it occasionally with predictions or promises, but really the emphasis is on plans. The one thing you've got to remember when using be going to for the simple future is that your form of be is going to change based on what your subject is. If your subject is I, you're going to use am going to and then the base verb. If the subject is you, we, or they, use are going to and the base verb. And finally, if your subject is he, she, or it, use is going to and then the base verb. Let's take a look at an affirmative example. Our bodies are going to cleanse and renew regularly. You don't need to buy these special detoxing products. Okay? So here, this is another way I would say cleanse can sometimes be a bit of a trendy word right now, but certain foods, drinks, supplements are marketed quite frequently. This idea that it's going to kind of thoroughly clean our insides. Okay? Here, someone is explaining, no, 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 right? Our bodies do this naturally. Now, if you want to make a negative simple future sentence, what you need to do is insert not after your be verb. So again, you're still paying attention to your subject, right? So our form of be will change. You might have am not going to in the base verb, is not going to in the base verb, or are not and going to in the base verb. So, an example of this, all of the money and the sage in the world isn't going to cleanse us of the malicious ghosts lurking around. Saw a sentence very similar to this in a piece of literature, right? Again, this idea of, right, thoroughly cleaning kind of evil spirits, ridding them of this particular place. Finally, let's look at making a yes or no question in the simple future. To do this, start with your form of be. Whatever form matches your subject, that subject should come next. Then use going to and the base verb. Here's our last example. Are you going to cleanse your face with that? Right? So, asking about someone's plan here for cleaning a very specific part of their body. Now, let's spend a moment looking at some words and a phrase related to our verb cleanse. The first word we'll discuss is just the noun form of this word. The noun cleanse has the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation as our verb. When we use this word as a noun, we're talking about a process or a period of time when someone is attempting to rid their body of kind of unhealthy substances, okay? Or in some cases, people think toxic things that are bad for us. So, an example of this, they've been drinking cucumber water for their cleanse. And again, you can find many different examples and certainly other YouTube videos where people talk about, oh, do this, it's going to get impurities from your system, such and such. Okay, so that's an example. Another word you might encounter is the noun cleanser. This can be a substance that cleanses something. And it's really common to hear it used with cosmetic products. So again, think things connected to washing our skin. So it doesn't have to just be that. So I've got two examples of cleanser for us here. She just loves this new cleanser. So a lot of people are into skincare routines. So you might encounter that word. But you might also hear it used, again, think cleaning a specific thing. So, what kind of sink cleanser do you use? Again, we're just talking about what kind of substance. Is it a powder? Is it some kind of liquid, etc.? The last thing we'll talk about today is an idiom or phrase, cleanse the palate. Okay, so what this means is we're sort of cleaning or refreshing our mouth between different parts of a meal. An example of this, let's have a bit of sorbet to cleanse our palates between courses. Right? Kind of this idea, you're not stuck with a certain taste in your mouth as you're getting ready to eat something else, or maybe have something that neutralizes those particular tastes in your mouth. Thanks again to Luis for suggesting today's verb, and I thank you all for watching. Have a great day.